actually be on the ground today. So moving slowly, working with some twists and into our hips. Let's take just a couple of breaths when you come to seated, just kind of tuning in and feeling what is in the foreground. What do you sense? How is your body feeling? What is your energy level? We're just going to give it just a couple of breaths here. As the practice is slow, we can stay tuning in as we begin to move. Let yourself empty your breath out, and let's take a breath where you reach the arms up on the inhale, holding the breath just for a second at the top, and then slowly exhaling it out, letting the arms lower down. And then taking your feet and placing the soles of the feet together in front and doing a few rounds of rounding the spine backward and rolling forward on your sit bones and lifting the chest. You could exhale when you roll back, and you could inhale when the pelvis rocks forward. But you could also do the opposite. So sometimes I like to inhale when the back body is really broad and open to the backs of the lungs, and exhale when coming forward. So maybe let's do 2 more breaths, 2 more rounds of your choice of where you're going to inhale, where you're going to exhale. Maybe also a little pause at the end of each breath cycle, at the end of each movement cycle. And then when you're back at the center next time, don't rush to get there. Let's do 1 more time when the arms are slowly going to come up on the inhale. But when you exhale, take your right hand behind you and left hand in front, so you're doing a mild twist. You're taking a slow inhale. As the arms lift, you're going to come back to the center. And then as you exhale, you take the twist to the opposite side. Now make this into a bit of like a moving, breathing meditation for 2 more rounds to each side. Let the slow rhythm of the breath really guide you in and out of the movement. So it's the breath comes in first, and then the arm movement, the spinal movement follows. And similarly, a little pause at the end of the exhale when you're in the twist. At the end of the inhale, where you come through the center and you're lengthening through both sides of the body. I'll go 1 more time to each side. And next time when you move through the center, when the arms are up, float them back down to the ground. Lean a little bit back onto the hands, take the soles of the feet onto the mat, and now we turn to the hips, while the spine still stays in that small kind of, does a small rotation as well as we drop the knees from side to side. And now I'm going to change the breath. I'm going to actually inhale when the knees drop. So when I go into that spiral, and exhale, come through the center. So sometimes in somatics, it's the opposite. Very often in yoga poses, we're going to exhale into a twist. And in somatic sequences, we are going to inhale into a twist. And then I'll meet you next time when your knees have dropped over to the right side of you. You're going to walk a little bit higher up and change the foot position in such a way that the left heel is going to come close to your left bum, and the right foot is going to come to the inner seam of your left knee. We sometimes call it the deer pose. And then we're going to come back to the pelvic rock, or the rounding backward and forward from this position. So you have now one leg externally rotated, your right leg, one leg internally rotated. See if you can bring your attention to the very base of you, how your pelvis is now rolling around the thigh bones, right? And same thing applies here. Feel free to experiment with your breath, whether you want to exhale as you round backward, or whether you want to inhale as you round backward. Again, couple of more rounds. Find smoothness. Prioritize finding smoothness, ease, and oh wow, even maybe pleasure as you move. Good. And then next time when you upright, pause. And then we're going to take again ourselves into a wee bit of a twist. So the right hand is going to come back, kind of not all the way back behind you, comfortably to the side of you. And take your left hand onto your right shoulder. If comfortable, keep the left elbow lifted. And so we're twisting, spiraling to the back. Let the left elbow lead as it points towards the back. Lift your left bum off the ground. So the twist really starts from the really base of you. And inhale as you turn. And exhale as you come back. When you come back forward, bum comes back to the ground. Take your head into the twist with you, your eyes. Look to that would be the right corner of your eyes. See how far behind you you can see. Move slowly. Let the breath again lead you. Feel what you feel in the hip area, in the spine area, and also in the bones. We're doing right now what our physiology is in habit of doing. We're taking the head and eyes in the direction where we're moving. This is what our brain wants to do. And in a moment, I'm going to guide you to move the head in opposite direction. So next time when the elbow begins to reach back, keep your face facing, keep your nose, eyes facing forward. And then when the elbow comes back to the front, look back behind you. If you've done this before, then it might already feel quite smooth. If it's the first time, there might be a little bit of dissonance that you feel. There might be a little bit of confusion. And so know that that's normal. And it's intentionally we bring this in. We are creating sometimes, intentionally these moments of confusion to enhance actually the body-mind connection. So go a few more rounds. Looking back when elbow comes forward, looking forward when elbow goes back. I'll go just one more round. I'll stay in the twist version for breath as I reach. As my head is forward, I soften what I can soften. And then you can keep your head forward as you come back. Releasing that left arm, taking the hands on either side of your right knee. And we're going to come back in this mild twist to the arching and rounding. So again, the bum comes a little bit off the ground when you lift the chest, and the bum comes towards the ground as you round into the back. Again, first priority is to find some smoothness in the movement. So not looking for any extremes. And here too, I'm going to invite you to first see how when you look up, let your eyes look up. And when you're rounding, when the chin comes in, let your eyes look down. See how normal this feels. And then we're going to try to do the opposite. So when the chest begins to lift, chin lift, eyes look down. And then when the chin comes in, when you're round, eyes look up. Again, if it's this little bit of scrambled eggs moment is what one of my teachers call it. allow for the shakiness and the wobble to be there, that's fine. I'll go a couple of more rounds, smoothing it out. And then next time when you're coming, your left bum is coming towards the ground, pause. Bring your torso back through the center. And then finally we'll add some lateral movement. So we're going to move the spine into this lateral flexion. You can use the arms as they float up and over as becoming levers and creating more of a pull along the side body. But then as you slowly go from side to side, begin to also investigate what other angles and possibilities are there. So we can go straight lateral, but we can go lateral and add a wee bit of a forward fold. And it feels different. You'll feel it in different parts of the back body, different ways your front body is contracting. So make this part your own as you float from side to side. And again, breath you can decide yourself. It might be nice to inhale into that lateral movement. Feel free to stay anywhere where it feels yummy and interesting. I'll go just maybe one more time to each side. And then starting to set up a forward fold from here, so our attention now from the spine and the twisting and the turning is going to go down to the hips. So I start with my torso over my right knee, and what I'm going to feel is, do I feel anything here in my right bum? And if not, then you're going to walk yourself a little bit more towards the center, or maybe even more over towards the left. So you're going to find a place where you feel sensation in the bum and the outer thigh, but it's mild, and we're going to do it in a yin way. So for about a minute, we're trying to relax into the shape. So I'm not trying to go to my maximum depth at all. I'm just finding some sensation and pausing there. And you can change the position of your right foot. You could slide it slightly forward. If the foot comes forward, means more sensation for most bodies because it increases the external rotation. Also, if the position of the left knee is in any way uncomfortable, feel free to play with that as well. So lots of variables in this shape that you can alter so that you can find the right amount of sensation. And what we're doing here for this minute is working in collaboration with our nervous system. So we're going to come to a mild edge, and by keeping our breath smooth, by softening the eyes and the jaw, what we're communicating is safety. Relaxing your belly, so there's also this soft diaphragmatic breath. Relaxing your jaw. And using this also as a moment, kind of like a meditative moment, as an anchoring moment to come closer to the felt sense awareness, or training ourselves to come and listen inward. So let's stay for another 3 breaths. Relax the muscles right now. We're going to do a little engagement in a moment. So now prioritizing softening where softening is possible. And then I'm going to stay at the depth that I have claimed here, that I have breathed into here. But I'm going to take my right hand to my inner right knee, and I'm going to begin to press the knee against the hand and the hand against the knee. So my inner thigh muscles, my adductors, are going to engage, and just for 4 seconds or so. So engaging the muscles around that joint, that hip joint, relaxing that action, and then doing the opposite action of pressing the thigh, the knee into the ground. So this is starting to do the external rotation movement. This, you might feel it in the bum, in the outer thigh. Again, just 4 or 5 seconds. And then softening that. And then just for another couple of breaths, just feel into the space. Sometimes it feels like you can sink a little bit deeper. So that activation of the actions around the joint can start to create more space in the joint. We're going to come up. We are releasing the legs forward and giving ourselves a little moment to observe, to shake it out, to bounce it out, to kind of feel into the right hip. And then before we do the opposite side, bring the soles of the feet onto the mat. We're going to do the windshield wiper movement again, but with a wee bit of a different focus. So as my knees are going to drop over to the left, rather than the knees moving at the same time, I'm going to initiate with the right knee. So my right knee is going to come and lift upward without my pelvis moving. I'm going to find where is that end range where it can't go any further. And then I'm going to allow the pelvis to move, and the pelvis movement is going to drag the left knee with it. Left knee is going to lift. It slows me down. I'm going to start to find where is that edge where I can't take the knee any further without the pelvis moving, and then I'm going to let the pelvis tip and tilt, and the other leg comes again. So let's go maybe one more round to each side. Slowly feeling into that range. And next time, when you're over on your left side, pause there, rearrange your legs a little bit so you can have the right heel come to the outside of the right hip, left knee is dropping outward. So we deer pose shape. What we started with was now allowing for the pelvis to move around the thigh bones. Find a breath that feels interesting. Consider keeping your awareness, your attention in this lower center of the body. So the two hips are getting different type of a stimulation because of their positioning. I'll go one more round. And then when you're sitting on your sit bones next time, take your left hand out from the left hip, take your right hand onto your left shoulder, lift the right elbow if it feels comfortable. If not, you could also drop it to your chest. Begin to rotate to the back as you inhale, lifting your right hip off the ground, and then coming back to the center as you exhale. So go like this, looking also now, bringing that attention of head, eyes, looking back behind you. You could even play with taking your eyes all the way to the left corner, so as if you want to see as far in that direction as possible. Reach also through that elbow to include a little bit of stimulation into the upper back shoulder blade area. And then for the last rounds with this version, find more smoothness. Like how can you make it smoother, easier? So it's not the depth that we're looking for, going as far as you can. And the next time when you're facing forward, as you begin to rotate, keep your head facing forward as elbow goes back. And then as elbow comes forward, look to the space back behind you. So taking the head in a different direction. Excellent. Next time when you're in the twist, just pause in the twist, not holding your breath, but just pausing in the twist, taking actually a relaxing breath, space building breath in. And as you exhale, let yourself elbow come back to the front, release it, take the hands to either side of that left knee. So you're in a really kind of mild rotation. And then coming back to lifting the chest and rounding the back. As the chest lifts, chin lifts, eyes go up. As you round the back, chin comes to chest, eyes look down. And then let's try to reverse. As you begin to lift the chest, keep the eyes looking down. As you round the back, rotate the eyes or look up. I'll do just one more. This one I've done a lot, but it still feels awkward. And when your right bum comes towards the ground next time, take your torso to the center, find the lateral movements, and begin to slowly play in your own time with some angles, like what feels interesting and good, and kind of gets into some of the areas that maybe feel a bit numb or where there's a bit of stickiness there. Feeling into how, what are the shoulder blades connected to? I sometimes feel you can feel these across the body diagonals there, how the opposite shoulder and the hip have a connection. And next time when you move through the center, let's begin to find our hip stretch. So starting to come forward again to play with where exactly the position is. You could start over that left knee and then slowly investigate what changes when you change your torso position. And then remember that you can change the right knee position, you can change the left foot position. All of that serving that you feel stretchiness in that left bum and outer thigh, but it's not too much. So for a minute, we're coming to a mild edge with soft breath, with relaxed jaw, softening through the shoulders. Maybe experimenting, extending your breath all the way downward. It feels as if the inhale can reach down into the pelvic bowl. Let's take 3 more breaths. And then the little activation part where we activate the different sides of that hip joint is by bringing the left hand to the inner left knee, and I'm pressing the knee up against the hand back against the knee. Just again, not for long, and not like you don't have to give it your 150%. Do it so that you can feel it. And then relax. Press the knee downward into the ground, your shin bone downward into the ground. Again, keep your shoulders relaxed, keep your face relaxed. And then relax that effort and just kind of feel the space that you've created, or what can you sense. Maybe there is a little bit of a sinking deeper. Maybe just this this edge that you claimed feels now a little bit more easeful. Take another breath in, and then slowly we'll release. Walking yourself back up, bringing the legs forward. Same as last time. We're going to give it just a little moment. Might be that you want to flop your legs, bounce your legs, or just kind of let them relax and let your attention travel through the leg, the hip, maybe lower back area. Let's give it one more breath. Bring the feet onto the mat. I have one more sequence from here that now he's going to target the hips a little bit more. Before we go there, we're going to let the knees drop inward and going to let the knees drop outward. Now play with the distance of the feet. So you can have them a bit wider, you can have them a bit closer. When the knees come towards each other, consider pressing them a little bit against each other so you feel those inner thigh muscles active. And again, just moving slowly enough so you can feel now this time it is the pelvis is steady and the thigh bones are moving within the hip socket. Go just one more time. Good. And then when the knees are up next, drop your knees over to the right. So I'm going to come back to, but you don't need to come into a very kind of tight closed version. So I'm going to keep my, what is that? That's your left foot. I'm not going to bring it all the way close to the hip. I'm going to keep it a little bit further away. Sometimes we call it the 90-90 posture. And I'm going to first work with that left hip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to keep my pelvis as steady as I can as I begin to lift and lower that left knee. And as I said, you can totally play with where that foot is. You could step it closer. You could step it a little bit further away. If you find it really hard, if you lean a little bit away from that leg, for some hips that becomes easier. When you come higher up and you're more vertical, then it might be a bit of more challenge. And I'm only going through a comfortable range. So as soon as I feel like pinching or discomfort, I'm going to back off. And so if we go a few more times, see if you slow it down. So the idea is to really kind of feel that hip and the range, and then to more or less keeping the pelvis steady, so I'm not turning from the pelvis. As much as I can, I'm trying to feel that my thigh bone is moving within the hip joint, but my pelvic half is staying steady, best as you can. Good. And then pausing next time when the knee's on the ground. And I'll do the opposite action now. I'm going to keep the knee on the ground and I'm going to lift the heel. Same thing, I'm going to try to keep my pelvis steady. You can have and play a little bit where that knee position exactly is. And it's not going to be a big movement. It's also a movement that for some bodies it's quite unfamiliar. And if there's any cramping, then you're going to do less, or even just imagine lifting that heel up. That will still engage the muscles. Do it slowly enough, bring your mind into it. That's the whole idea. Let's go maybe one more round. Maybe holding it for a moment if that is possible. Relax everything completely when the leg is on the ground. And last movement we'll do for the hip involves the hip flexor. So this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to lean a little bit over to the right. I'm going to lift that left knee all the way off the ground, the left leg, actually the whole leg, and then pivot it forward. As it comes forward, I sit the left sit bone back down on the ground. I hold it for a moment, so that's the hip flexor work, holding that thigh up. Knee can be bent, knee can be straight. You can play with that. And then I'm going to turn the toes back inward so the thigh rotates inward, and I'm going to take that leg back to the side. You can keep it hovering if you want to work more dynamically. You can also rest it onto the ground before you come to the next repetition of this one. So we'll go a few times. This is both mobility and strength work. You can send that leg slightly back behind you. That will stretch the front of the hip. Play with the shape a little bit. Take your time with it. If it gets really tiring, have a little pause. See how the upper body can help. Sometimes it's nice to bring the arm slightly forward as the leg goes back. Opposite hand to knee. I'll do just one more. Good. And next time when the leg is forward, take the foot onto the ground. Give it a little floppy. Take the feet onto the mat. Just 1 or 2 rounds of letting the knees come towards each other. Maybe consider pressing the heels onto the ground and dragging them slightly towards you, so then it becomes a little bit more engaged version of this. I'm pressing heels down and dragging them towards my body. Next time when the knees are up, I'll drop the knees over to the left. I'll play a little bit with the distance, knowing that I can change that. I'm going to work with the with the right side. So lifting and lowering that knee. Could be closer, could be further away. So there's no like precise alignment that I'm asking of you. I'm asking you to be in inquiry, in exploration. And then a wee bit of an awareness, like where am I kind of wiggling? And right now we are aiming to, as much as possible, isolate the movement into this hip socket. And only through comfortable range. Only through comfortable range. I'll go 1 more round. Perfect. When the knee is down next, we try the opposite. Again, you can play with that knee position. I like it more when it's straight out. And I lift the heel. You feel it, the thigh bone is rolling inward in the hip socket, and then slowly placing it back down, letting everything relax. Heel is going to lift. Try to feel where is there contraction, and then a slow lowering and softening of everything. 2 or 3 more repetitions. Beautiful. Next time when the foot is on the ground, let's try the hovering. So feel free to lean over to the left, however much you need, lifting that thigh, leg all the way off the ground, rotating it forward, dropping that hip down, and then holding it for a moment, hip flexor work. Turning the toes inward, taking the leg back, either to the side, to the ground, or even slightly back behind you. So play with this form. And even when there is a wee bit of a challenge, no pain, right? Good. I'll do maybe 1 or 2 more repetitions. And next time when your leg is forward, take it down onto the ground. Shake it out. We're going to just come off the ground for just these last moments. And so choose to turn towards the long end of your mat. So whichever side you want that is easy for you to still see the screen. We're going to use the squat as a transition. So just for a moment, feeling the hips from this perspective. You could add here a little moment also where when you bring your hands to prayer, when your knees press against the elbows and elbows press back against the knees, again as a way to bring more activation into the hip joints, and then relaxing that. Elbows press outward, knees press inward, there's more containment, but jaw stays relaxed, eyes stays relaxed, and then relaxing that. Slowly going to start to take myself to a forward fold. So as the hips lift, you might change the foot position, but keep them hip distance or slightly wider. We haven't really explored much of the back body and the back of the legs, so they might mine are quite cranky right now. So you can have your knees however soft you need. Maybe a little bit of a bending of the knees and straightening into the knees to be in soft conversation with the backs of the legs. Letting your spine tangle. And then at one point, toe heel your feet wider. So you can go into wide-legged forward fold. Keep your hands on the ground under the shoulders. Then begin to bend into your right knee. Let the hips shift over to the right, but really press the left foot onto the ground so you'll feel the inner left thigh. You can walk the hands also a little bit over to the right, and the hands are holding some of your body weight. Then straightening through the knee, bending into the left knee and switching sides. Again, a little moment of pause where you press the right foot into the ground, feeling the inner right thigh. This is option one. You can keep moving by straightening the knees and then bending. Or you could come to a little bit of a flow of gliding from side to side. So imagine as if you're underneath a low table or something. So as one knee begins to straighten, already the other knee begins to bend. A little bit more challenging. And then final version, if you want to bring more dynamism in, is to take the hands off the ground. So now your legs are bearing all of your weight. And you can improvise with some arm movement if you want. Version that makes sense to you, that's not taxing you this morning in any way. Couple of more rounds. Perfect. And then hands lower to the ground. Coming into wide-legged forward fold. Either hands under the shoulders or hands walk a little bit further back. Head drops. Take a longer breath in so that you can have a nice unrushed slow exhale out. Then from this high squat. So I'm going to turn the toes out. As I sink in, I'm going to let my knees move to the direction where the toes are pointing, and you might need to adjust your feet. As you land in that squat, have a little bounce to the heels. Let that bounce travel upward. My arms are just kind of tangling. Soften your jaw. Take a breath in and go. So really good one to loosen up the fascia. Little elasticity, bouncing. Excellent. Then straighten the knees for a moment, take a breath. I closed my eyes, that made me wobbly, so maybe keep the eyes open. And then one last thing, we're going to come back into that squat. I'm going to lift my right heel off the ground, and I'm going to pivot that knee inward without turning my chest. My chest stays forward. I'm going to then sink the knee towards the ground. That hip has come into that internal rotation. Then I'm going to pivot the knee back out, place the foot back down. Lifting the left heel, pivoting on the ball of the foot, sinking that knee towards the ground. My torso stays forward, my pelvis stays forward, thigh internally rotates. and then coming back. Go a few more times. Sometimes I roll also the arm internally. And if you need a break, come upright between the sides. And if you want to give your hips a wee bit of a challenge, then stay in the squat, in the high squat. A couple of more times. The knee can sink a little bit towards the ground, or a lot towards the ground. I'll go one more time to each side. Good. Then we're going to straighten the legs. Open the heels outward. Back to forward fold. Shaking out the head, feeling into the legs, the back body. We are returning through the squat, closer back to the ground. As you sit low, take a breath in. Take a slow breath out. Take the hands back behind you. Sit back down onto the ground. Take the soles of the feet together in front. Take a slow breath in as the arms come up. Rotate to the right as you take the right hand back behind you. Left hand comes around that right ankle as you exhale. Just like in the beginning. Rotate the arms back up, chest back through the center as the breath comes in. Exhale, open the arms so the left arm goes back behind you, right hand to the left ankle, exhale. Do a couple of more rounds at your own pace. Aim to now really slow the breath down. Maybe there's a little pause again at the end of the exhale. Little pause at the end of the inhale when you tall. So I think we started turning to the right, so let's finish with the turn to the left whenever you get there. So once you've turned to the left, you're going to come back through the center with the arms then coming down to the sides. And then as we have just a few minutes left, choose to either stay in a seated meditation for it or lie down onto your back. If you feel that this sequence just kind of got you started and you want to continue, then feel free to continue your practice. And if you want to have a longer sit or shavasana, then just silence me. So I'll hold space for a couple of minutes here for a little moment of settling, and either you're lying down or in seated, allowing for a moment of quietude. So if you're keeping your eyes open, maybe turn them away from the screen. Let them rest and soften. If your eyes are closed, then still soften the eyes. Imagine your breath now has eyes, and as it then moves your awareness, your inner sight, together with the breath. Moving through the interior space. Softening the edges. Noticing places where you're holding out of habit. Also noticing the places that are feeling really relaxed and soft now. And then if you know that this 45 minutes was the time, let's softly, slowly find our closure here. So when you land back to seated, you could add a gesture. So connecting, once more noticing what's in the foreground. Maybe there's intention that you want to ripple out into your week from here. Thank you so much.